Hi, and welcome to another edition of PraxHacks. Today, we're going to be looking at once you've taken the writing test, or while you're taking the writing test, it's going to take a while for those scores to get back and why and how they're scored. It's one of those things that we're going to see in other videos. Your writing score, especially for these essays, is very important. But today's video is going to talk about why and how it takes such a long time. So before we get into that, I want to thank our sponsor. Today's sponsor is Upside. Upside's an app that you can download, and it will actually pay you money for things like buying gas or buying groceries or eating at some of your favorite restaurants. If you use the code UWVQ4, Upside will give you an extra 15 cents per gallon on your first fill up. So you may have already have a fantastic offer at one of your local gas stations by downloading the Upside app. With using that code, you'll get an extra 15 cents per gallon off for your first fill up. So download Upside. I love it. It's one of those things that you can make money and still use and get those points off your loyalty cards or whatever. So Upside. The upside of today is waiting on those test results. It seems like it takes the writing, especially the writing test, forever to get those results back to you. But there's a good reason why. It's because they're graded by real people. Real people will read your essays and evaluate them. Everything else with the praxis tests, because they're the multiple choice, are just graded by a machine. But the essays are actually graded by real people. That's why it takes a while to get those results back. Now, the next thing that you might be asking yourself, well, who grades these things? Because the praxis people aren't real clear. I think they just say something like that it's an intelligent audience or something like that. Well, I'm here to tell you to be a little bit more specific. Who grades these things? It's teachers and former teachers. That's who grades these writing exams, particularly oftentimes English teachers. So as you approach writing these essays, think of that most strict English teacher, writing teacher, composition teacher that you have ever had. Think of that person as your audience while you're writing these essays. Avoid slang, avoid all those, things that probably somewhere along in your education you've been corrected about, but use really good, proper English because that's who you are writing for. Now, not just one person will be grading or scoring your essay, but usually it's 7 to 10 of these teachers and former teachers looking and reading your essay and judging it and scoring it. So that's who you're writing for, and that's how it's scored. But you might think, well, what if there's two teachers who disagree? What if one teacher wants to give you a 3 and another teacher wants to give you a 4? Within the system of praxis scoring, the two scorers would have to come to a consensus. They would have to come to an agreeable score. So let's say one scorer wants to give you a 5 because they think you're awesome, whereas another scorer wants to give you a 3 because they didn't like something about your essay. They would have to come to some sort of consensus. Either the 3 would have to come up to the 4, or the 5 would have to come, the person who wanted to give you a 5 would have to come down. They would literally do a conference call and try to come to this agreement. So let's go to the rubric. The rubric, as you all know, since you're studying to be teachers, is how something is scored. You can actually find this hidden in a PDF on the ETS or Praxis website. But like I say, it is a little bit of a trick to find these. But these are what the scorers use to determine your score for this test. Another insider bit of information: when the scorers are scoring, they're taught to assume everything is a score of a 3. Now, just to back this up a minute, your score is going to be between a 1 and a 6 is the highest. 1 is the lowest, 6 is the highest. So by using this method of coming in and assuming everything is a 3, it's right in the middle. I like to describe it as thinking about pizza. If you go to a new pizza place and you assume it's going to be the best pizza ever, you're probably going to be disappointed. Whereas if you go in and you assume it's going to be horrible pizza, then you'll probably be pleasantly surprised. Whereas if you come in and think about it, that it's just going to be average, then you can be more accurate on your judgment and be like, it's better than average, or not so much, it's a little less than average. That's the same thinking that goes into using this 3 as a starting point for all essays. And you read down through that, an essay of a 3, any one of these things listed here in the bullet points would keep you at a 3. This one is specifically for the argumentative essay, that it's limited in stating or implying position or thesis. It's limited control in organization. It's inadequate reasons, details, examples. It's an accumulation of errors in usage of language and accumulation of errors in grammar, usage, and mechanics. Any one of those things will keep you at a 3. One of the more common ones I'm going to say is those bottom 2, those accumulation of errors. And I feel like that's also where most people worry about their essays. But this is the score of the 3. Your score is going to assume that your writing is a 3. You've got to prove to them that your score is better than a 3. Now, I did say the score of the 3 is what they assume. Think of it this way, though. Out of a possible score of 6, a 3 is just 50%. I know that's a little bit of math here, but stick with me. So half of 6 is 3, right? A 50%. Since most of you are an educated audience and most of you are going into teaching, 50% is like an F if you're giving a grade. You don't want that. You want to be better than 50% if you want to hope to pass these tests. So, on the other end is this elusive 6. And the reason I say elusive is because it's crazy hard to get a 6. They put it out there that, oh yes, it's possible to get a 6. But let me tell you, bit of advice, it's next to impossible to actually get a 6 on your essays. A 6 is professional grade writing using at least college level vocabulary. Let's look at its rubric. So it states or clearly implies the writer's position or thesis. It organizes and develops ideas logically, making insightful connections between them, clearly explains key ideas, displays effective sentence variety, clearly displays facility in language, is generally free of errors. It's darn near perfect. Again, that's why I think of it as this magical unicorn, because they are so, so rare. Not completely impossible if you're an excellent, excellent writer, but it's pretty darn close, especially considering you only have 30 minutes, and this is after probably a grueling length of time testing, and then to write something just magnificent is a really difficult task. So, to be more realistic, I'm going to say you want to shoot for a score of 4 or more. And here's the rubric for what a 4 is. The reason it's important to shoot for a 4 is because the rubric for the 4 and the rubric for the 5 are very close and very similar. So if you know what a 4 is, then it's possible that you might get a 5. Now, the other part of that, if you get a 4 on both essays, you've probably got about a 90% chance of passing that writing portion of this test. That is, I am not kidding you at all. That is a true fact. Think of it though, if you got 2 5s, you're going to pass the test. You could bomb the multiple choice part and still pass this writing test if you got a 5 on both essays. Now let's look at what a 4 would take. It states or implies the writer's position or thesis. It shows control of organization. It explains key ideas. It displays adequate use of language, shows control of grammar, usage, and mechanics, but may display errors. So don't get completely hung up on that being a perfect writer. You want to capture and do all of these things. You can have a couple of mistakes. I'm going to say the longer your writing is, the more mistakes you would be allowed, just kind of as a percentage thing. But yes, shoot for the 4 because you might get the 5. One way that we suggest is definitely pick up our book on Amazon for the Writing 5723, or just keep watching our videos. We try to put out a video, at least one video a day. Hit that like and subscribe button. Then you'll be notified of any books or any videos we come out with, because we greatly appreciate you watching us. And stick around for another episode of PraxHacks to give you more information specifically about this writing test. See you later in another video. Bye.